Ta-da! As if by TV magic, here I am. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that it's a little late for some of you guys, but I'm really glad that you came. We started doing these about a year ago because over the 30 years that Taxi's been in business, we've noticed that the people who are successful with Taxi have figured certain things out, and usually they figure stuff out like three-quarters of the way or all the way through their first year, maybe halfway through their second year, and they kind of hit their stride. And one day it occurred to me a year ago, after 29 years of running Taxi, why don't we do like an introductory thing when people join to tell them all the stuff that these other successful members figure out on their own over a period of time? Why don't we just condense all that into one video so that you guys have a tremendous advantage going in, that you're well armed with the best knowledge at the beginning of your membership and don't have to spend 9 months or a year or more figuring it out. So that's why we're here. I've got a sty in my eye, so if you notice that my right eye is a little red tonight, or I'm rubbing it a lot, that's why. Let's just jump right in and get to it. I am quite certain, actually, that by attending this thing, that you guys, kind of put yourself at the head of the class, that you will be more successful more quickly than other members who've joined at the same time as you. For the 12 months we've been doing this now, we've already started getting feedback from people. It's like, wow, I'm so glad that I attended the new member Zoom. So I think that you'll have the same kind of experience. Given time, patience, and productivity, virtually anybody can be successful. It really, believe it or not, it's not so much about being the most amazing songwriter or the most amazing producer or the most amazing vocalist. It's almost as much, if not sometimes even a little more, about having the right material for the right people at the right time. Obviously, the music can't be bad, but especially on the film and TV side of things, people are not looking for, oh, I need this amazing song. They need a song that helps them make their scene better, that amplifies or bolsters the emotion in the scene. So, over time, you're going to figure out these rules of the road, as it were, and start becoming successful. Whoops, let me mute that phone. I will tell you right off the bat that if you think that you can just make a couple of submissions and the pearly gates are going to open up and everything's going to be wonderful, some big person in the music industry is going to hear your music and send you a big fat check, and like 10 days later you're going to get a ride on a private jet and play Madison Square Garden 6 months down the road, probably not going to happen. We do have some people that are extremely fortunate and become successful very early in their memberships. Most of the time that doesn't happen. So it does take patience, and there are going to be times where you're going to be really frustrated. Like, my music was forwarded. You guys said you sent it to a music supervisor. It's been 10 days. I haven't heard anything. Again, patience, patience, patience. Oh, I made a note. Don't take our customer service at Taxi is incredible. You actually get live human beings on the phone. People respond to you quickly. And that's one thing that we've heard over and over and over for 30 years is, wow, your member services team is amazing. So I pasted in this note from a member named Dylan Horizon from Scottsdale, Arizona. He says, the customer service is remarkable. Whenever I call with questions or concerns, the staff is super friendly and helpful, and you can tell they really care about the success of their members. So thanks, Dylan, for sending that in. Very true statement, and I hope you guys always have that kind of customer service when you need us, and let us know if you don't, because we take it very seriously. So let's jump right in with my first tip, which is open and at least browse the new listings that we email you every day. I know it's like, oh gosh, here's another email from Taxi with a bunch of opportunities. It's almost overwhelming. I can't believe you send these every day, but frankly, we get them every day. We used to only send out the listings on the 1st and 15th of every month, and there was just too much delay time built into that. So now we send them out to you guys almost as quickly as we get them, typically 3 a day, sometimes 4 a day. Just make it a 5-minute habit every day. Just 5 minutes, not even. You could probably do it in 3 minutes. Just pop open the email and at least just look and see what the three different genres are that are being asked for that day. You'd be surprised how many people will call and say, "Well, I don't think I'm going to renew. You guys didn't get very many listings in my genre." "Oh, what's your genre?" And they tell us, and we have a page that you can go to of past listings for the last 12 months. "Oh, look at that. We had 67 listings in your genre." "You did?" And they're shocked. Well, if you open the emails, you would have known that. But it's really frustrating when they say, "I didn't get much out of my membership because you didn't have a lot in my genre." They didn't know about it because they didn't bother to look at the emails. So if you want to put yourself ahead of the pack, just simply open the emails and check them out every day. Um, we're going to send you about 1,200 new opportunities a year, even if only 10% of those are in your genre, your wheelhouse. That's still 120 real opportunities that you didn't have before you joined Taxi. People often ask us, why can't I get emails just in my genre only? Why do I have to get all these emails with, rock and pop and hip hop when all I do is country? Well, some of the instrumental listings we get are for country instrumentals. So if you didn't get that genre, you wouldn't know. Sometimes people might be looking for, oh, I don't know, like country rock, for instance, and it may show up because it's more of a rock thing with a country flair to it. So it shows up in the rock thing. So that's why we send everything. And you'd be surprised how many people, one of the benefits they have or they get from joining Taxi is they realize, oh, I can do other genres too. Um, Even though this isn't on my list of things to talk about, I'm going to mention it to you because it's important. And that is, let's say that you are a country songwriter and you play acoustic guitar and you've got a home studio and you're perfectly capable of recording, like bass, drums, guitar, maybe a little dobro or some lead guitar in there. Well, gee, what if you opened up the email and you saw a listing in there for instrumentals like the stuff they played on Duck Dynasty when that was still on the air? You don't think of yourself as an instrumental composer, but virtually all of you are, because something like that, they just need a 90-second cue that's basically an A section all the way through, sometimes a little B section in there. Could be as simple as just arpeggiated open chord strums, brown, brown on the ones, and then double that, and then throw on a little slide dobro and maybe a little harmonica, and you're done. You've got an instrumental cue that's completely licensable for a show like that. So that's one of the cool things Taxi does. It opens up people's horizons to things they just didn't think about. They're stuck in one genre and they don't realize they could be making money in another one. Why am I not getting my emails, daily emails from Taxi? Make sure to check your spam and promotions folder. It's not unusual for us to hear that, get a call from a member who says, "I joined you guys. I'm not getting any emails." And then lo and behold, they check their spam folder and, oh, there they are. Also, if you have a promotions tab set up in Gmail, a lot of times they'll go to the promotions tab as well. And if you've done both of those checks and you're still not getting them, please give us a call right away. We'll check the database, make sure that we've got the right email address in there, and get you all sorted out and straightened away. Number one thing to making sure that you're successful with Taxi: 80% of the music that does not get forwarded by Taxi, believe it or not, is not forwarded because it's just not the right thing for what the company asked for. And people think, well, it's not what they asked for, but it's really cool. When they hear it, they're going to love it. They may love it, but they still can't use it, especially film and TV. They can't use it if it's not right for the scene. So read the listings really carefully, because we could have two listings. Let's say the first one comes on a Monday and it's for pop with a female vocal. And it talks, and it may mention, 3 paragraphs down the listing, please don't send any love songs. And lo and behold, 40% of what we get will be pop love songs with a female vocal. And then the members get very upset. You didn't forward my music. Well, excuse me, it said no love songs. You sent a love song. I didn't see that in the listing. All you had to do was read it. So please, if you see a listing that's appealing, read it a couple times, maybe take a highlighter and highlight the important points that are in there. It will transform your membership. I am really not exaggerating when I tell you about 80% of the music that we cannot forward is music that's just not what the listing asked for. Um, Another thing that's really super helpful is listen to the references. First of all, there's a woman named Robin Frederick who's considered to be one of the best songwriting book authors that's out there. She's also a songwriting coach. And Robin is, she's, let's say she's not in her 20s or 30s, okay? She's been around for quite a while. She's been in the industry for a very long time. That woman knows more about current music than anybody I've ever met of any age. It's really impressive. And I asked her, how do you know all these cool young bands and all these genres and stuff? And she said, because I look at the taxi listings every day. You guys do such a good job of researching the references. All I have to do is listen to two or three references from each listing. And I go, oh, never heard that band before. Wow, that's really cool. I like that. Then she puts them on her Spotify playlist. So if Robin Frederick, who I think is one of the most impressive leading authorities on great music and new music out there, if she's using the taxi references that are showing up in the listings you're getting every day, I think it'd be a really good idea for you guys to do so as well. Um, but don't think that you have to make music that sounds just like the references. They actually don't want that. They're not asking you to be a copycat or infringe anybody's copyright. Listen to the three references and know that probably 50, 60, 70% of the time the references are coming from the person or company that's asking us to find them music. So we're getting it from the horse's mouth. Sometimes they only give us one reference, and we have to find others that are in that same ballpark. And while we're doing that, what we're doing is going, would this work on a playlist? If I walked into a party tonight, a dinner party at somebody's house or a party, and I just listened to the first song, what other music would they be playing that would appeal to the lovers of that first piece of music? So it's not about ripping anybody off or copying it. It's just about, would your piece of music that you're thinking about submitting for this taxi listing fit well on a playlist with these other things? Is it kind of in a similar tempo, a similar vibe, a similar attitude? Is it, a modern sounding melody versus a dated sounding melody? Does it have a cool indie sounding vocal versus like a Mariah Carey, kind of old school vocalist vocal? So just make little notes about those things that will help you nail what you're going to submit so much better than just looking at it going, yeah, I'm not going to listen to those references. It will expand your musical vocabulary. And look, you all want to be in an industry that you can't be making yesterday's music for today's market. With the exception of there are times that they actually look for dated music of a certain era because they need that for a scene in a TV show or a film, and they need to match the era that the scene is taking place. This is super, super, super important. And I know this is the one that people always go, oh, that sounds hard. Learn to create music for the listing rather than trying to fit a square peg in a round hole by pitching your old material. A certain number of people will spend $20,000 recording their grand opus, the album of their lifetime. They save up their money, they write music over a period of years, they finally get the determination together, I'm going to go record an album, and they go to a local recording studio and they spend twice as much money as they planned on it, take twice as long to do it, but in the end they're really proud of it, and then they send it off to disc makers and they get 500 CDs made, and here they are 3 years later and they still have 475 CDs sitting in cardboard boxes in the garage. Happens a lot, and that's because people didn't spend any time, money, or research figuring out a marketing plan. They just made the CD and figured it would be so good that people would magically find them and love it and want to buy it. So because they didn't have a marketing plan, they didn't have a market, and they didn't sell any CDs, as kind of a last-ditch effort, they joined Taxi, and then they submit that music that they did years ago to listing after listing after listing. The problem is the music doesn't really fit, but they see a listing that says, looking for pop music with a female vocal. And again, scenario where it says, but no love songs. And they've got a pop tune with a female vocal that probably talks about when you were my boyfriend or before we broke up, everything was great. And they go ahead and they submit it because that's what they've got. And they just figure, well, somebody's going to hear it and they're going to like it so much that even though they're asking for something that's not exactly like that, I'm going to submit this and they just won't care. They're going to love me and love my music. And it doesn't work out. And then they get very frustrated with Taxi. And then people come, as a matter of fact, there's a Taxi member named Greg Carrozza, and he's not alone in saying this. He was a member years ago, and he would be the first to tell you that he just squandered a whole year of Taxi by submitting music that he had on a CD before he joined Taxi. Exact same scenario I just told you about, and ended up getting very frustrated, didn't renew. And then he came back a few years later with a little better attitude and said, you know what? I keep hearing from people that they love Taxi, and all those people that love Taxi have actually found a way to create music in their home studios per request. And I know that doesn't sound all that creative or artistic, but music is an artistic endeavor. It's the outpouring of my musical soul, and I get that. But I don't want to write to order, Michael. I don't want to fill orders. But any of our successful members that I have this conversation with tell me, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing any creativity whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I've actually become so good from forcing myself to create music from scratch on a deadline that now my regular musical stuff, that I'm doing has gotten much better because I've become much more familiar with the sounds in my workstation. I've learned to work faster, more efficiently. I'm learning a lot more about current music that's out there because listening to the references forces me to do that. And overall, my whole musical palette has expanded and everything about my musical world has gotten better because I read those listings every day. So please don't submit your old material unless let's say you recorded an album in the 90s. If you see a listing, and you will see listings from time to time, it says looking for 90s groups like Matchbox 20, for instance. And yeah, I've got stuff that I did, some demos actually. There are listings where they will actually accept demo recordings that are pretty darn good, and they will take those and place them in a TV show that has a scene that takes place in 1994. And you've got a young couple that's having a conversation in a bar, and what kind of music is playing on the jukebox? Sounds like Matchbox 20. Well, are they going to spend $100,000 to license a Matchbox 20 song for that scene that's playing so faintly in the background under the dialogue? Nope. Are they going to pay you $2,500 or $3,500 to license yours? Yep. I already mentioned this, but go through and highlight the listings. Highlight the important things. And just before you make your submission, double check. You don't have to hit everyone 100% exactly, but most of the time. Make sure that if they're asking for pop with a female vocal, without romantic lyrics in there, guitar-driven pop as opposed to keyboard-driven pop, give them what they ask for. I used to sell shoes. When I was 14 or 15 years old, my parents owned a store in a little farm town in Illinois. And one summer, the lady who sold shoes was out because she had surgery. And my dad asked me if I would run the shoe department. So there I am, a high school freshman in the summer after freshman year in high school, and I'm now the shoe guy. And if a lady came in and said, I need a size 7.5 pot de soie pump in beige, and the beige has to match my bridesmaid's dress, if I brought her out like a 9.5D men's penny loafer in cordovan, the lady'd look at me like, you're nuts, kid. What are you doing? Yes, it's a shoe, but I asked for a 7.5B with a 3.5-inch heel in beige, and this is none of that. Yeah, but they're both shoes. Don't you love my penny loafer? Well, I love it, but I can't use it. The music industry is very much like that, and not just the film and TV side of the music industry. If Ariana Grande is looking for songs and you're sending stuff that sounds like it would work better for a male artist or a country artist or somebody that's not Ariana Grande, Why would you do that? Well, because my song is awesome. When they hear it, they're going to love it. They can still love it, but they can't use it. So that really is one of the secrets to the industry is give them what they're asking for. And there aren't too many industries where they will do that. But that's what we get from them every day of the week is emails that say, "Hey, can you guys find me this or can you find me that?" All you have to do is give it to them. And I promise you that, like the vast, vast, vast majority of our members who are successful, you too will find, wow, I feel more fruitful, more productive. I'm having fun. I don't feel any lack of creativity. As a matter of fact, working with a deadline and certain boundaries actually helps me feel more creative. So don't believe me, believe your fellow members. You just, tonight you got, I'm channeling what they're saying to you. Um, the Taxi Forum at forums with an S, forums.taxi.com. I know forums are a little old school since the advent of social media, but social media is very ephemeral. It's like stuff is posted 1 minute, gone the next, whereas a forum is like a living, breathing document. It's like the Encyclopedia Britannica that just keeps getting better and better every day. So we started the forum, I believe, in 2004, so it's like 18 years old. Um, Oddly enough, surprised even me. Some of our best, most experienced, most successful members, and we've got members who are making six-figure incomes that will go on there and answer your questions. You would think that, like virtually every other music forum I've seen anywhere in the internet, it's a little snotty and it's like, oh, you call that song good? You think that mix is good? Come on, buddy. None of that happens on the Taxi Forum, and you find that the older, I mean, older by they've been members for a longer period of time, successful members are unbelievably kind and generous in helping you with anything from like copyright advice to composing advice to songwriting advice to production advice. There's a place called Peer to Peer where you can post a piece of music. You can say, here's the listing I'm responding to. Here's a link to go listen to the song that I'm thinking about submitting. Do you guys think this is a good fit? Now, you would think that people might say, no, I wouldn't submit that because they might be submitting for the same listing and they don't want any competition, but they're so unbelievably generous that they will actually say, yeah, I'd submit that. But by the way, the bridge could actually use a little help. The background vocals seem like they're a little laggy. And you'll get very specific advice. So I know you don't know me. You've got no reason to trust me. I run a company. People don't trust companies, but trust me on this one that you will love that community of people. The motto there has always been about paying it forward. And people talk about their fellow members that they know from the forum, and they call them their taxi family. People from all over the world have met each other because of the Taxi Road Rally and the Taxi Forum. And they're friends for life, and they become collaborators because they met on the forum. So please don't be shy. You'll probably be a lurker in the beginning. Everybody starts out that way, but at some point, just register. You don't use your regular taxi credentials to register there. You create separate credentials for the forum. Become part of the community. There's no stupid question. Nobody will laugh at you or put you down. They've all been there. They've all done it. It's one of the greatest unknown treasures of the entire music universe, and only hardcore taxi members know about it, but it's sitting there waiting for you for free. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? Wow, going right through here. Check out the forwards section of the forum. We actually post the material that was forwarded for a particular listing. Well, I should say the members posted on the forum. So it's the first thing you see when you go to forums.taxi.com. Right at the top of the page, you'll see where it says forwards. And you go there, and people are so proud when they get a forward from Taxi that they go on there and say, yay, I got a forward for this listing and this song, and they provide a link to it. That way you can listen, especially if you're frustrated that you submitted for that listing and you weren't forwarded. You can listen to what was forwarded, and people always say, wow, I was kind of close, but I wasn't as close as the stuff that got forwarded. But now I understand the difference between what they're doing and what I wasn't doing, People swear by it. Once again, it's free. It's sitting there for the taking. It will really, really help you. Also, you can go to, we post this every day on our website. Bria, is it taxi.com/blog
It's
or
blog.
blog.taxi.com/forward?
Yes, and
Right?
I'm putting all the links in the chat as well. So
All right. Great. So you can get that same information in both places. At the blog.taxi link, you will get complete list of everything that was forwarded. On the forum, you only get people that want to go on there and tell everybody they got forwarded, but they're both extremely good resources that you will get. Um, Again, our successful members, they've got a formula. I'm telling you, everything that they do, again, it took them a year or more to figure this out. You guys are learning about it right in the beginning of your membership. Um, Watch Taxi TV. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but we do a show almost every Monday of the year at 4 o'clock live on YouTube, 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock East Coast time. And it's archived. So if you can't participate in the live show, you can always watch the archive later. It's not unlike this. It's me sitting here wearing a flannel shirt, sitting in front of my fake recording console in my beautiful office here in Los Angeles. We cover topics on just about anything you'd want to know, from film and TV music to how to get a record deal, to copyright issues, to production issues. Sometimes I have guests on the show. Sometimes I have successful members on the show that are extremely willing to share their secrets to success. Again, it's free. It's there all the time. Some of our more hardcore members, I mean, we've been doing it now for, I think, 13 years. Some of our hardcore members will make it a point to watch like half an episode. The shows are 90 minutes long. People are like, 90 minutes? Oh my gosh, who's got time to watch that? Well, you can either watch regular television or you can learn about how to have a successful music career. It's up to you. It's your choice, obviously. But our successful members, almost to the person, will tell you. I mean, if you meet them at the taxi convention, they will tell you, I watch Taxi TV religiously. I've gone back and watched a bunch of the past episodes. Obviously, you can go to the Taxi channel on YouTube and you can search episodes by topics that are most interesting to you so that you don't spend time watching stuff that's not appropriate or not pertinent to your life. Anyway, watching the live shows does have an advantage other than sometimes we give away a cool taxi hoodie, or I've been known to give away a plane ticket to the convention every now and then, cool stuff like that. But the real benefit of becoming watching live shows, we have a live chat room. And the people in the chat room, again, are unbelievably friendly, incredibly generous with what they've learned. And they log on in the beginning of the show, hey, Taxi family, they're tight friends and collaborators. So, if you see a listing that asks for a jazz track with a female vocal on it, and you can make great jazz, but you don't know a great female jazz vocalist in your neck of the woods, but you want to send the track to somebody who can sing over it and send back the vocal, you probably find that person quite easily, either in the Taxi forum or in the chat room on Taxi TV. So I encourage you to do it. And finally, the Taxi Road Rally, our convention. The last 2 years, we've done it virtually. Surprisingly, it came out really, really good, I must say, if I can pat myself on the back a little bit. This past year, last November of 2021, we actually did 6 full 8-hour days of broadcasting from like 9 in the morning till 6 p.m. at night. Every kind of topic you can imagine. You can go to the Taxi website and look under, if you go to the top navigation at the top of the screen and look under free convention, you'll see the schedule from last year's Road Rally. It was the 25th time we've done this convention. Is considered by most people to be the premier music convention anywhere on the planet Earth. Typically, prior to COVID, we've done it here in Los Angeles, and people go, oh man, I got to take days off of work. I got to fly from Michigan to Los Angeles. People come from, I am not exaggerating this, they come from South America, they come from Asia, they come from Australia, they come from the Middle East. Literally every continent you can think of. 2,500 people come from around the world to this event, and it's like a giant love fest. Again, look, I'm not, I guess I'm not antisocial, but I'm definitely not somebody who enjoys going to parties like, hey, Mikey's here, let's talk football. I'm not that guy. I'm also not a guy who likes walking into a hotel filled with a couple thousand musicians and trying to make friends. So over the years, I've had to twist the arms of people who are pretty similar to me, and I beg them and plead with them to come, and they do. And within an hour of getting there, they track me down, come up, give me a hug, and say, "Dude, you were so right. I have never felt so at home and so comfortable with a group of people in my life. This is even more awesome than you told me." Funny thing is, Thursday night registration usually opens up, I think around 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon, and we'll have easily 1,000 people in the registration line that night. And people come up to me and go, "I'm having such a great time." It's like, we haven't had a class yet. We haven't had any open mics yet. Nothing has happened but them standing in a super long registration line, and they're having the time of their life. It's that good that even the registration line is fun. We had one guy who was standing in the registration line, made friends, as you always do, with the two or three people in front of you and behind you or next to you. People will go to the bar and bring back drinks for everybody, or go out, grab a pizza and share it with their roommates in line, as it were. And so one guy, standing next to another guy, start a conversation. Turns out the one of the guys from Australia, and he owns a production music library, which is a film and TV publishing company that pitched music for TV commercials in Australia. So the taxi member standing next to the guy from Australia ended up signing like 112 of his songs with that publisher, just because of who he accidentally ended up standing next to in the line at the road rally. You can literally meet industry professionals in the elevators, in the hallway. The bar is very, very popular. Hopefully, COVID will be chilled out enough by this year's road rally, which is going to be November 3rd through the 6th, that it won't be an issue. We're prepared to do it virtually again if we have to, but everybody's like, please do it live again. I'm shocked, frankly, but people would prefer to fly in because they know the industry connections they make. They can actually meet people who've been on the panels or taught classes or mentored them in a one-to-one live mentor situation, which is free. There's some things you can't replicate on video. So even though it's convenient to sit on your couch and watch the road rally, you don't have to buy a plane ticket. The benefits of coming from wherever you live are much, much better than sitting on your couch. And almost 50% of the deals and placements that we hear about now are a result of people meeting people at the road rally. It used to be people were just getting their music forwarded by submitting to the taxi listings, and now it's they meet a collaborator, they become best buddies at the convention, they end up sitting together and going to a lot of classes and dinners and drinks together, and they end up collaborating on music. Well, your newfound buddy has been a taxi member for 4 years and already has relationships with 4 or 5 different publishers. And because you're collaborating, you get to ride their coattails into those relationships. And conversely, as you get signed and get relationships, they get to ride your coattails in because you guys are best friends and collaborators. And obviously, you get more than one collaborator if you want. You can have as many as you want. These are actual questions submitted by people, so I'm just going to rattle them off and answer them. Can I submit songs not written by me but for a friend? Nope. If your name is not on the copyright or wouldn't be on the copyright, please don't submit it. It's kind of like they're legal issues. You don't have the legal right to shop their music, even though they might say, oh, sure, go ahead, send it. We've had situations where somebody got forwarded to a music supervisor. They submitted something for a friend. Music supervisor called the supposed songwriter or artist and said, okay, we're interested in licensing this for this movie. Let's talk paperwork. It's not actually my music. Oh, it's not. So you submitted something for somebody else, but you lied about it? Yeah. All right. Well, we don't want to do business with you if that's the way you do business. So thanks anyway. Adios. So there you go. Can't submit anything. Plus, it's kind of like going to the Mercedes dealership and leasing one car and walking out with two. So don't do that. Can I submit material that I didn't write, but I did produce? because many people have home studios and some of them, charge people to come over and they produce demos for them or masters or what have you. Just because you produced it still doesn't give you a legal right to shop it. You don't own it, you don't control it. Um, so no, there are cases where somebody might, maybe the studio owner does a trade. I'll produce it, but I'm going to own the masters. So it's your song, but my master recording, which is not a deal you want to make. But just in case you did make that deal, you still can't submit it if you're the studio owner because it's the person who wrote it that controls the copyright. Um, how many submissions does Taxi get for each listing? I'm guessing that people ask that question because they want to know how stiff the competition is. Well, truth be told, there is no competition because we forward every single piece of music that hits the nail on the head and is above the bar on quality. So it's not like, let's say we get in 126 submissions for a particular listing. It's not like when we get to song number 78, we go, oh, that's much better than song number 3. Like, who the heck would remember song number 3 anyway to do kind of a comparative analysis on the fly like that? And we could have several screeners screening it. So screener B doesn't know what screener A listened to half an hour ago. So bottom line is every single thing that meets the criteria and is over the quality bar will get forwarded. Um, so the number of submissions just doesn't matter, but I will give you some numbers anyway, but please don't let this intimidate you or affect you in any way, shape, or form, but you deserve to get an answer. So if it's something that could be like death metal, we might get 35 submissions because not a lot of people that are Taxi members make death metal. But those 35 people that do make death metal are pretty committed to that genre. So maybe 50% of them will get forwarded. We've had a listing, I think our record setter was percussive instrumentals that could be used in TV commercials, just pure percussion. And believe it or not, they don't want the best percussionist in the world. They want stuff that's really easy to feel and to glom onto, that's usually pretty simple rather than complex. Because nobody watching a car commercial is like, wow, check out that percussion that person's playing. If anything, it would distract from the voiceover and whatever else is going on in the commercial. So they just want stuff that creates a groove. In that case, we got over 800 submissions for that listing. And just to show you that we're true to our word, anything that's good goes. I think 40% of those were forwarded. So we had roughly 300-ish pieces of music to send to the person that requested it, which is an overwhelming amount of music for anybody to listen to. So you're thinking, well, why didn't you pare it down and just find the best of the best of the best? Well, that's not the promise that we make to you guys. If the music is on target and good enough, it goes. It never becomes a contest. So we called up the person on the receiving end, might have been a music supervisor, an ad agency, or whomever, and said, unbelievably, we've got 300 tracks of music to send you, but every one of them is incredibly good, or we wouldn't be sending it. But we don't want to overwhelm you. So how about if we send you 50 a day, like every other day? And they went, awesome idea. That's great. So there you go. So just know if you're on target and good enough, and I mean like over the quality bar, you will get forwarded. Doesn't matter how many submissions or how many other forwards there are. Next question I've already answered. Am I competing with other members? Nope. You may be forwarded, somebody else may have something that's actually better, but yours is also over the quality bar and on target, and better is very subjective. There are plenty of times in movies and TV shows where a song that's kind of a B plus will get chosen over a song that's an A plus, and you're thinking, well, how the heck could that be? Doesn't the best song win? Nope, not always. Maybe the A plus song is just a little too complex, or it's got a sax solo in it, or a screechy lead guitar. Something that, even though it's a brilliant piece of music, makes it not work in that scene in the bar where the boyfriend and girlfriend are slow dancing and having an intimate conversation. And all of a sudden that saxophone or that guitar part is getting in the way of their very intimate, I love you too, honey conversation. So it may have been an A plus song, but the B plus song that doesn't have the sax and doesn't have the screechy guitar in it is the one that's going to end up in the movie. So there's that. And it's a really important thing to know because everybody thinks it's all about the greatest music in the world. It's really more about the right music. Um, what percentage of submissions are forwarded? I kind of answered that already, but it varies. We don't have like, let's find the best 10%. Maybe once or twice a year, and I say that underlined and italicized and bolded, maybe once or twice a year. Somebody will say, send me the top 5. And even when that happens, the few times that has happened, we'll send them the top 5 and then add the next 16 that are also good enough that they should hear them. And we just put a little break, like a page break between the playlists and just say, the first 5 are the ones you asked for. The other ones we thought were good enough, and you may want to hear them as well, so we're sending them. So that's how we get around that problem. The screeners don't have a quota, as I just mentioned. So again, not a competition, no quota. What is the A&R team looking for when they're listening to submissions? They're looking to see if you, in fact, got close in the ballpark. Would you be added to a playlist of that other music that's heard in the references? Because that's what the people in the industry ask for. Again, we don't want to give a burgundy penny loafer. No, not burgundy. What's the color? Cordovan penny loafer to a lady that asked for a 7.5B Potassois pump with a 3.5-inch heel. Well, I've already answered some of this stuff. Yay. How much does a screener's personal taste have to do with whether or not a submission is forwarded? None. They're professionals. They are trained. Forward what fits the listing and is over the quality bar. Sorry if I sound repetitive about that, but it's really important that you know that. Again, they're not looking like, I love that song. Doesn't matter. I interviewed Mary Ramos, who's Quentin Tarantino's music supervisor, for virtually everything he's done since Pulp Fiction. I think she was like music coordinator on Pulp Fiction. She's been his music supervisor on everything he's done since then. And he's a tough cookie to work for, very, very picky. And I asked her, do you ever get stuff that you just absolutely love and you go to Quentin and go, Quentin, we got to put this in the movie. It's the greatest song in the world. She goes, hell no, I can't do that. Why would I risk my relationship with him and my job by recommending a song, even if it's the best song I've heard in my 35-year career? Why would I do that? I may put it in my car and listen to it when I'm stuck in traffic on the freeway, but I'm not going to play it for him and say, you got to put this in because it's an awesome song. It's really, I'm so glad that you guys have joined me tonight so that you can hear this stuff, because these are all, so many of these are misconceptions that musicians have. They're like old wives' tales that people have repeated over the years. Oh, I didn't get this because somebody else had a better song. No, somebody else had a song that worked better for that need. It is an industry of needs. Why don't the screeners forward music that's pretty close? Could you imagine us sending something to Quentin Tarantino's music supervisor saying, this doesn't really make it over the quality bar and it's not exactly what you're looking for, but it's pretty close. Would you check it out? They don't have the time for pretty close. I've got a friend named Frank Palazzolo, who's a pretty big music supervisor in the world of TV shows, like hour-long drama kind of stuff. Frank actually once told me that he screened 1,000 pieces of music in an hour for one scene where they needed like 15 seconds of music. And I said, come on, Frank. I've been in the industry for like 40 years. 1,000 pieces of music in an hour? Well, and here's how it goes. They're not listening to the whole song, and I know that insults a lot of musicians. What do you mean, man? I poured my heart and soul into this thing. I spent weeks recording it. They don't even give me the time of day by listening to the whole song. No, they listen to the first few seconds, and they know immediately. You would too, believe me, if you were in their position, their job. You know right away, is it right for that scene or not right? Is it right for to be in a scene with that character, this movie, this storyline? You just know when you do it for a living. You go, nope, that's not going to work. It's too fast. It's too hard. It's too hip hoppy. It's too country. It's too this. It's too that. But the stuff that you hear that in 2 or 3 or 5 seconds is like a possibility. You drag that into a folder of possibilities. And after you've listened to 1,000 things in an hour, then you've got, let's say, 17 in the folder of possibilities. Then you go back, listen to those 17 more critically, and then you take the 5 or 6 that made it through that cut and you play them against the scene on your computer. And whichever one works best in the scene is the one you show to the executive producer or the director of the film. So that's how film and TV music magic is made right there. You just got an inside look at the way it really goes every day. Again, not about the best song. Even Quentin Tarantino, who uses more music in his movies than just about anybody on the planet, does not put music in because he personally loves it. Might make it into his car, but not going to make it in the movie. He only puts stuff in the scenes that amplifies the emotion or moves the action in the scene along better. For whatever reason, it's not about, that's my favorite song in the world. Why did I get 2 different critiques of the same song from 2 different screeners? Chances are they were 2 different listings. And even though they both asked for female pop songs a la Ariana Grande, maybe one of them said, don't want love songs. So one of our screeners is going to look at it through that lens, while the other one, even though it's a similar kind of thing, is going to look at it through a different lens. And let's face it, if all of us did a field trip, we piled into a van and we go to the Louvre Museum in Paris, and we walk into the Grand Hall where the Mona Lisa is hanging behind plexiglass, by the way, and we look at the Mona Lisa, and I say, okay, everybody write down, you got 30 seconds, write down what you love about the Mona Lisa. Some of you are going to say, I love the lighting. Some are going to say, I love the shading. Some are going to say, I love the wistful look in her eyes. Some are going to like the skin tone. Some are going to like her lips, whatever the reasons are. We're all going to see different things in a different moment. So it's not unusual, but the decision, when it comes down to the decision of whether or not your music gets forwarded or not, that's the box you look at on the feedback form that you're going to get from us. Look in that upper right-hand corner box, and it will say, the reason your thing was forwarded or returned is because. That is by far the most important thing on the form. However, many of our members, not going to mention any names and embarrass anybody, well, they're probably not in this room anyway, they will look at a screener while they're listening, even though they may not forward it, or maybe they did. They might mention, by the way, one of the sax notes is peculiarly out of tune. You should know about that. So they mention that as, oh, by the way, or you should know this. Or maybe the conga drums feel a little sloppy, or maybe the bass is really low in the mix. They'll mention that stuff just because they've got ears and they feel like you'd want to know. But we get members that's like, I want a refund. I want my money back. You guys didn't forward my thing because the bass was too low in the mix. No, the reason we didn't forward your thing is because it didn't match what the listing asked for. And if you read the box in the upper right-hand corner that says the reason your music wasn't forwarded is because, you would know that. The bass thing is under a category, which I threw away, sadly. I had the sheet here 5 minutes ago, but it says something like additional things we thought you would want to know. So we include those in there to give you some education. Frankly, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this because I own the company, but I'm shocked at how much our members love the feedback they get from our screeners. Frankly, the first 10 years of this company, I've literally had death threats to the point where I had to hire security for my family and I, because people got offended that their music wasn't forwarded. We have spent an inordinate amount of time answering nasty emails and phone calls from people. You people are idiots. You wouldn't know good music if it jumped up and bit you on the butt. I understand. People pour their heart, their soul into this piece of music. It's everything in the world. They've got all this hope wrapped up in that thing, and then they don't get it forward. And we're the nasty, evil people that didn't forward the music. But again, it's not about personal taste. And I forgot what the heck I was talking about. Bria, do you remember what I was talking? I'm still jet lagged. I just got home from a 15-hour flight a couple of days ago. What was I talking about, Bria?
You're talking about that you're shocked that people.
Oh, thank you. How much they love the critiques. So I don't know why, but all of a sudden, the last couple of years, well, a lot of times my wife now does the first rough edit on the member deals section of the taxi newsletter. So then she hands it off to me to see if everything makes sense, and I refine the edit and then send it off to the real editor. When I read this stuff, I would say virtually every one of the emails we get from our members that are featured in the I Got a Deal This Month thing, uh, a ridiculously high percentage of them say, and I can't say enough about the feedback I get from the screeners, which is really shocking to me after having to hire security to protect my family from somebody that wanted to kill us for real. Guy ended up shooting himself, by the way, blew his brains out. So that was sad and a relief at the same time. But just, I get it. It's painful. You've got so much hope wrapped up in this stuff, and then it doesn't get forwarded. But you can listen to what the screeners say and know that they're not, people have this misconception that the industry is trying to keep you out, that there's some fat bald guy smoking a cigar sitting in front of a wall full of gold and platinum records, listening to music or not, and laughing his butt off, going, ha ha ha, destroyed another person's, vision of their future. I dashed their hopes and dreams. It's not the case with our screeners. These people all have unbelievable credentials. Like, if you can see them on our website, you can go to taxi.com and look at the about thing and pull it down, and it'll have a link to take you to our A&R team. We've got people that have been like vice president of Sony ATV Music Publishing, people that have music supervised The Godfather Part 2, really incredibly talented people, really well credentialed, and you would be very happy to know that country is a good example. Country music for radio and records has very detailed visual lyrics. I opened the screen door, walked into the living room. It was dark and smelled like a cigar. They set the mood, they set the picture in country songwriting. Well, that's great for records and radio. It's horrible for film and TV, because if the scene doesn't have a screen door, a dark room that smells like a cigar, the song's not going to work for that. So country music for film and TV has to have very general lyrics like, I really miss her, or I'm having a great day. Whereas country music for radio would be, I'm having a great day because I'm with my girlfriend. She's wearing her Daisy Dukes. We grabbed a 6-pack of beer, jumped in my pickup truck, went down to the fishing hole. Yoo-hoo! And I lost my train of thought again. If you are submitting for country for radio and records, you will have a different screener who is trained for radio and records versus a taxi country screener who is trained for film and TV. It's two different disciplines. So not only will you not get somebody who's like a metalhead screening your country music, you're getting a country screener, you're getting a highly qualified country screener, and you're getting one that knows the drill on film and TV versus one that knows the drill on records. That's the length that we go to find the right people and have them listen to your music. If a screener doesn't forward my submissions and makes a suggestion to fix something, why can't I just fix it and submit it again for the same listing? The reason for that is that people are not incredibly responsible. Oh, sure, man, I'll get it back to you tomorrow. The film and TV industry in particular moves very quickly, especially the episodic weekly TV stuff. They need new music every week. So they don't have a timeline that allows them to say, well, I like this, it's pretty good. However, if you could change that synthesizer sound and maybe cut the bridge in half, then I could use it. They're not going to hold up their whole schedule and have a show not air because they didn't have a song for a scene because they're waiting for somebody in Ishpeming, Michigan to put a new synthesizer part on or edit the bridge down. So that's just the way it works, and that's why. But the good news is there will be another listing in a day or two or a week or two or a month or two. So now that you've gotten that feedback from the screener and you fixed your song or your instrumental, you will definitely have other opportunities to submit it to that are similar down the road. How long will it take until I hear back on a submission? A lot of new members get this wrong. They think it's 30 days, but they think it's 30 days from the day they submitted. It's not. We promise that you'll hear back within 30 days of the deadline. So if you submit for a listing that deadlines on April 15th, but you submit it on April 1st, it's going to be 30 days after April 15th until you hear. And that is because we don't listen to the stuff as it comes in one, two, three at a time, because we want the screeners to sit down and know, okay, you've got 40 things you've got to listen to today. So we can't say, can you, work for 15 minutes today and 42 minutes tomorrow and an hour and 6 minutes on Wednesday. We book them in 4 hour blocks, which, by the way, people get burnt out after 4 hours of concentrating on music and giving feedback. So the screeners never ever work more than 4 hours. How long will it take for me to hear back? This is super important. This frustrates the hell out of people, and I totally get it, but a dose of reality. Most of the time, you're not going to hear back. People in the music industry are not in the business of making you happy or holding your hand or fulfilling your fantasies or providing you with a private jet or any of that great stuff. They just want to make money with their music, which is great, because if they're making a buck, you're making a buck. Um, let's say we forward your music to a publisher, film and TV publisher. Let's say the listing deadlined on April 1st. That means we probably had to get the music to them around April 2nd, 3rd, 4th, somewhere in that window. We need a little time to screen the stuff. We send it to them. There are all kinds of ways, all kinds of things that can happen that can affect the timeline in which you will hear back from them. Like I said, most of the time you're not going to hear back. 100% of the time you will hear back if they're interested. Nobody in the history of the music industry has ever said, this is the perfect song for Ariana Grande. I think I'll wait till that musician calls me with a follow-up. Did you listen to my song yet? No, of course not. As soon as they get that song and go, this is a smash hit for Ariana, they're going to pick up the phone or send an email saying, I'm extremely interested. Can we talk? They're not going to wait for you to follow up. Conversely, if they get it and they listen to it and they don't think they can use it, they're not going to call you up and say, I'm sorry, I can't use it. Why not? Well, it just didn't have a big enough chorus, didn't have that, really hooky, punchy chorus. I'm sorry. Well, I've got other ones that have hooky, punchy choruses. I wrote this one about when my girlfriend and I broke up like 4 years ago. It's really, really good. It's a pop song. And then I did this pop R&B thing, and then I did a country thing, blah, 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 blah. It's like, goodbye. I don't have time for that. I got a record to make with Ariana. I don't have time to have this conversation with 300 musicians over the next 3 weeks. So the cold, hard reality is they're only going to call you when they want it. And when they do, usually it's not a life-changing event. Usually they're people very much like you and I. They really are just regular people. They could work in an insurance company. They could work behind the counter at a department store. They could work at a sushi restaurant. They are not intimidating. They're quite normal. They have families and houses and everything. And when they call you or email you, just simply have a conversation with them, and try not to be too much of a rookie, but don't try and fake it either. I mean, it's quite okay to say, I'm sorry, this is the first time I've ever been offered a publishing deal. Sure, send me the contract. Is it okay if I show it to a music attorney? It might take me, a week or so to get back to you. Those are all fine things to say. Be honest with them, but don't start asking them questions like you might ask a professor that's teaching the music course you're taking at, night school. They are not there to educate you or handhold. There are a few that will do it. The vast majority won't do it. So ask your fellow members on the Taxi Forum, pick up your phone, call my staff, ask us the questions. We'll be more than happy to hold your hand and give you the education. 50% of the value of what Taxi really does is the education. Any of our successful members would tell you that. They say it regularly. Gee, I joined looking for access to the industry, and then I realized it's not just about making great music. It's knowing how to navigate the industry. It's knowing what a typical deal looks like. It's knowing the etiquette. It's knowing the lexicon of the industry. A lot of people don't know, for instance, what a developmental arc is. We actually had a member say to me in Taxi TV, I thought a developmental arc was, meant this song was shaped like the arch in St. Louis. No, that's not what it means. I could see how you might think that, but it's not what it means. So we'll teach you what developmental arc is, which, by the way, if you want to know, if there's a glossary on every page of our website. down in the bottom navigation, it says something like industry glossary, and a developmental arc is explained, as well as many other things you should probably know. Um, how long should I wait until I hear back from the client if my music is forwarded? How long should I wait till I submit that for other listings? 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Just keep submitting it. It doesn't matter that it was forwarded. Don't sit there waiting for the phone to ring or for your email to say, hey, I got your music from Taxi today. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard. Sending the private jet right over. Does happen. I mean, not the private jet, but sometimes you might hear in an hour. Most of the time you're not going to. Most of the time it's going to be a week or 2 or 3 weeks or probably never. But that's why you just got to keep writing, submitting, and hold on, I need a prop. Guess who's sitting 4 feet away from a window by a parking lot? Um, Write, submit, forget, and repeat. Some of our members coined this phrase years ago. Obviously, it's the takeoff on wash, rinse, and repeat. They actually made bumper stickers and t-shirts and gave them out at the convention, but truer words were never spoken. That is one of the secrets to success with Taxi. Write, submit, forget, repeat. Don't put all your hope on one horse. If every time you make a submission, you're just like, oh man, I can't submit for another, but there's another listing is perfect for it. Go ahead, send it to that other listing. Well, but what happens if the first company I sent it to calls me up and now I've sent it to the other company? And what if the second company wants it too? Awesome. There's no greater feeling in the world than saying to company B, oh, I'm sorry, another company jumped on it because you hadn't yet, but you can make apple or lemons into lemonade here. You say, I'm sorry, another company already picked it up, but I can make more stuff that's very, very similar to it. Would you like to hear that? Of course I would. So now you've got an open door with somebody in the industry. You don't have to go through Taxi. You can build a relationship with them. And there you go. But if you're the kind of person that's like, oh my gosh, I got a forward from Taxi. I'm going to, check my email every 5 minutes. Everywhere I go, checking my phone to see if they're going to reach out to you. Don't be that person. I know it's hard to resist. I really do. I get it. Many years before I started Taxi, I was an engineer producer, and there were times I'd work with baby bands that were trying to get a record deal. And I would send stuff off to A&R guys that I knew, and I was guilty of the same thing. It's like, staring at the phone, waiting for it to ring. Um, what is a production music library? It's not a library that you need a library card for. It is simply a publisher that concentrates on doing music for film and television. Many, many, many of our clients are production music libraries. They amass large quantities of music, anywhere between, let's say, and instrumentals and songs. Some are more on the instrumental side, some are more on the song side, some do both. But they may have 1,000 tracks, they may have 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I'd say the average is probably in the 5 to 10,000 range. There are some production music libraries out there that are owned by big companies like Universal that have somewhere between 250,000 and 1 million different pieces of music. So, in the traditional publishing world, you write a song, you hand it off to the publisher picks up the phone and calls Ariana Grande and whoever else they think the song is appropriate for. We got a great new song. I know you're going in the studio to start your next record in 3 weeks. You should hear this song. It might land on your album. Not the way it works in film and TV. They literally put it on the shelf, figuratively speaking, a digital shelf. And then they wait for the request to come in from the music supervisors and the people working on films, TVs, what have you, commercials, video games, and they fill requests with the inventory of music that they have. So if somebody reaches out to them and says, I'm looking for a singer-songwriter song about the end of a relationship from the male perspective. Okay, they look in their database, they see that they've got 16, they listen to the 16 and think, all right, I've worked with this guy before. I know he tends to like stuff that's like mid-tempo versus really slow. So I'm going to send these 5 over. And then the person choosing the music listens to those 5. Hopefully one of them works well in the scene, works with picture, and it gets signed. The publisher gets paid, you get paid. It airs on TV, you make money from your PRO. What is a PRO? Many of you know, some of you may not. Don't be embarrassed if you don't. It's a performing rights organization. ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC are the three in America. There are many more. Every country's got one. PRO is not a publisher. People often mistakenly say, I just signed a publishing deal with BMI. No, you didn't. You signed a deal allowing them to collect your performance royalties. Your song plays on a TV show, you get paid a performance royalty for the performance of your song. If somebody sings it, in a big football stadium at Sunday's game, believe it or not, you get paid for that. If it plays in a movie theater in America, you don't get paid for that. I think we're the only country on the planet that doesn't pay for theatrical performance of a song. However, when the movie leaves the theater and ends up on HBO, you get paid for that. So you want to join a PRO. People often ask, should I join ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC? Honestly, at 6 1/2 dozen of the other, I would say right now that more taxi members seem to be happy with BMI, but a year and a half ago, more taxi members were happy with ASCAP. It just kind of rotates. And they do change their payouts and their deal structures and stuff like that. So that sort of thing, But sometimes we have members that are collaborators. One is an ASCAP member, one's a BMI member. They're both on the same song. It ends up in a TV show. One of them gets a check for $1,200 next quarter. The other one gets a check for $482. And then the guy that got the check for $482 for the same song appearing in the same TV show at the same time on the same night is really pissed off at his PRO and tries to change his PRO, which he can do, but only during a certain window. So there you go. That's a short course on that. What is broadcast quality? Broadcast quality doesn't mean that it's got to be recorded in a 48-track all digital studio with an SSL or a Neve console. The vast majority of music done in home studios is probably audio-wise at least close to being broadcast quality. Broadcast quality, it means a lot of things, but it means it's an appropriate recording for the kind of music it is. If you're doing a pop song, it should sound like other pop songs on the radio. If you're doing something that sounds like Neil Young or Tom Waits, it should sound like Neil Young, or Tom Waits, which is probably fairly lo-fi with maybe a pitchy vocal and a guitar that sounds like it still has the same strings that came with it from the factory, and it was recorded into the built-in microphone in your Mac laptop. That would be appropriate for those guys, but yet, because it's appropriate for them, that's broadcast quality for that kind of music. So don't let the term broadcast quality trick you into thinking that everything that you submit has to. If you have a level B song that is a decent recording with a well-balanced mix and it's not like stupidly swimming in a lot of reverb or something, and it's pretty darn good. And then you've got an A+ song. I might be screwing this up. Bottom line is nobody ever got a deal because of the quality of recording. Okay? They're not going to pick a less good song because it's got a better recording. So if you are the kind of person that really stresses out and spends a week mixing something and just perfecting and over perfecting and re-perfecting, don't do that. They're going to pick it because it's the right song for the right artist or the right TV show or the right scene or whatever. And if you have two songs that are equally as good and if they're identically good, the better recorded one might win in that scenario. But there are plenty of times where something that is a little less good on the recording side. Sounds like we're getting attacked by helicopters outside. A little less good on the recording side. It's literally like World War II planes flying by outside. They will take that song because it's the right song and not that worried about the recording. However, there are times that you won't get forwarded by a taxi screener says it's not quite broadcast quality. Well, some of the things that go into the stew that make up broadcast quality could be the vocals a little pitchy, could be the vocal is mixed a little bit low, could be that the vocal performance just doesn't nail it. It's 10 or 15% under where it needs to be. that can affect the overall broadcast quality. So don't be fooled into thinking it's just about um, the quality of the engineering or mixing. All right, I'm going to go to your questions in a moment, but people always ask me, what's the fastest way to become successful with Taxi? Honestly, instrumental cues. You don't need to write a lyric, which is really hard to write a great lyric. You don't need to record a great lead vocal because it's really hard to get a great lead vocal. You don't have to record background vocals. It's easier to mix. But Michael, I write songs. That's what I do. You don't have to stop writing songs. They're not mutually exclusive. And working on what I affectionately call stupid little instrumental cues will actually make you a better writer and a better engineer and a better producer. So just be open-minded about doing the instrumental cue thing. Look for genres. Let's say you're a country songwriter. You could do an instrumental cue that's just singer-songwriter, strummy 4/4 guitar, right? Not that hard. Some of our best placements for our members, believe it or not, have been cocktail jazz piano. Nothing more than a piano recorded in stereo doing light, lilty little cocktail jazz. And it pays big money. And here's why. Husband and wife going out in a movie. They're having a very intimate conversation. Oh, look at that. They're getting divorced. They're talking about the divorce over dinner at this swanky restaurant. That conversation is going to last 4 minutes. And what's going to be playing in the background during 4 minutes? Light little cocktail jazz piano. Whereas an instrumental cue that ends up in an episode of the Kardashians might only play long enough for Kim to drop the cap from the milk jug and get pissed off that she can't find it because it rolled under the cabinet. Womp, 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 womp. Just that much played. So you're not going to get paid a lot for that one, but 4 minutes of solo, cocktail jazz behind a conversation in a movie, much bigger bucks. So remember that. It's not about being the fanciest person. It's not about being the best composer. It's not about any of the things you probably think. It always comes down to the right music for the right thing. So there you have it. Let's open it up to questions. Bria will wait for you to use your little hand thing. Yeah, you can tell them.
Yeah, I can tell them for you.
Good, because I need a drink. And I don't mean like alcohol. I mean like a drink.
Yeah. In the bottom of the screen, you'll see where it says reactions. There's a little smiley face with a plus sign. If you click on that, there's a way that you can click to raise your hand. So if you have any questions, if you can do that, that'd be great. And then I'll invite you to unmute when we're ready. All right, 34K, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is
Whoops, we lost you. We lost your audio.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Okay, sorry. My name is Carrington Donald, also known as 34K. That's my artist name. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You mentioned instrumentals, and I think my I just joined Taxi not so long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and I've been looking at a lot of listings, and some of them say instrumentals, and some of them say instrumental cues, and then some say and or. So can you give like a brief explanation as to what may be different between the two?
That is such a great question. I'm so happy that you asked that. Thank you. An instrumental cue is its own song form. Generally, instrumental cues run between 60 seconds and maybe 2 minutes. So 90 seconds is kind of a good ballpark. Doesn't have to be 90 exactly. It could be 87. It could be 94, whatever. In the listings, we'll usually tell you what the time frame is. But an instrumental cue, an instrumental is basically a song with the vocal muted. But then if you take a song and mute the vocal, it doesn't have a melody. So people tend to put in a saxophone or a flute or a guitar or something to carry the melody. And what do you end up with? Something that sounds like 101 strings playing in an elevator because it just sounds a little cheesy. So my recommendation is do what I call melody light, which is basically just maybe hit the first note, on the one of every measure. Instead of bum, 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 just do bum, bum, bum. And that way you get some sense of forward movement and melody. And now you've got an instrumental, and it's usually 3 or 4 minutes long, like a song would be. And it's structured like a song in that it's got an intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and out. An instrumental cue has practically no intro. It literally could start out with boom, boom, right into the A section. The A section is generally somewhat similar, if not very similar, to the chorus part of a song. It's kind of like the sexy hooky part. And I gotta look. I may have a prop here that I can use. I do. All right. This is an instrumental cue. Yeah, really hard to do this with the green screen thing.
I could see it when you first did it. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So notice how it starts out kind of small down here and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. That's the developmental arc I mentioned before. So you start out with, let's say, bass, drums, and guitar. Come right into it, bass, drums, and guitar, and then 4 bars or 8 bars, no 35-second intros. You will kill yourself, or you will kill your chances, sorry, if you have a long intro. The editors, usually it's video editors putting music into TV shows. It's not a committee of people sitting around listening to an instrumental cue that's going to be used for 9 seconds. It's the editor goes, okay, I need something funny and quirky here. So they search funny and quirky in their digital bin of instrumental cues, and they get up a playlist. Maybe it's got 5 things, 10 things, 30 things, whatever. They look for sexy titles or appealing titles like quizzical comedy. You would know that's a funny instrumental cue. They play it and they look for, does it have kind of the right tempo, the right energy, a melody that works well in this scene? Does it do what I need it to do? And then they'll just cut out a little section of it and throw that in there. So they really like it when it's got a lighter part, and then maybe they need something that's like medium intensity, and they would cut right there and right there. Or maybe they need the full Monty and they come down here and take it where all instruments are in. And an instrumental cue will always end in a buttoned ending or a stinger ending. Buttoned ending just means it goes back to the tonic, usually ends on the 1 bump. A stinger ending is bomb. So think period for button ending, exclamation point for a stinger ending. A stinger ending can also be just chopped off. Just take the bump and use that. Kim Kardashian drops the milk thing on the floor, and at the moment of impact, you hear bump. They didn't hire an orchestra just to record that bump. They just cut it right off the end of an existing instrumental cue. So I hope that answers the question for you. I'm really glad that you asked it.
Thank you. Yes, it did. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for asking.
All right, if anyone else has a question, you can go ahead and raise your hand. If you don't know how to do it, you can say
Go
in
like
the
this.
chat too, or go like that. Mike will tell me. I just can't see everyone.
Apparently, I did such a good job. Nobody's got a question. All right, that gentleman's got one.
Who?
And another
Oh,
gentleman.
I see. Mark. Okay, Mark, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, where are you? Wave your hand so I know who's talking. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm Michael. Nice to meet you. Thanks
Nice
for
to
doing
meet
this.
you. You're welcome.
I guess one of the questions I got, 2 that go together is resources for paperwork. The one would be how to take care of like a work for hire if I have my friend do a vocal on it. How do I pay him $50 and then have him sign off on his work for hire? Do you have sheets available somewhere for that resource? And then also the current companies that I work with now, they do all my paperwork for me. So they do all the copyright. So I actually haven't done any copyright paperwork. I have music all over the world, but I haven't done that paperwork. So I'm wondering if you would have a resource or somewhere that I would look up that we would have a resource that's confident, correct.
Yes, I see Bria looking at her web screen. I'm sure she's going. We have a music attorney that we love. We have several actually that we know well, but there's one in particular named Aaron Jacobson that's got a site that does exactly what you're talking about. Bria, what's the name of that site?
I dropped it in the chat. It's indieartistresource.com.
All right.
So,
Yep.
and here's the cool thing about Aaron Jacobson, and you may know this because you sound like you're experienced. Most music attorneys, like I know some of the biggest music attorneys in the industry, and people have done deals for like Michael Jackson and Beyonce and stuff. They don't know the first thing about licensing a stupid little instrumental cue. Again, I say that affectionately. They don't know the first thing about how that side of the industry works. They're utterly clueless, and they think it's the same set of rules for licensing a Beyonce song for a blockbuster movie as it would be for licensing a 15-second piece of music for the Kardashians. So Erin Jacobson understands the music library business. I've become friends with her over the years and have really pushed her hard to expand her knowledge. So she's now a legit expert on that part of the industry. So therefore, those documents that she provides were not only written by an attorney, but they're written by an attorney that understands the TV music industry.
All right, I appreciate that. Yep. My second question is, why do you pick on Ishpeming, Michigan so much?
Because I grew up in Ottawa, Illinois, and I like to poke fun at small Midwestern towns because I grew up in one. Are you from Ishpeming?
I'm from the UP. I'm from Escanaba, Michigan. Yeah.
All right. Well, I went to summer camp in Keewaydin, Michigan. I learned how to scuba dive in Lake Petoskey. Often went to what's the island where you can't drive a car? Famous tourist spot.
Mackinac.
Yeah, Mackinac
Mackinac.
Island. I've been there 3 times. And I had a girlfriend at camp, and she was from Ishpeming, Michigan. So there you go.
There you go. Yep.
It's
Thank you.
amazing that in my 60s, I could still remember that my girlfriend at 12 years old was from Ishpeming, Michigan. But I just thought it had a nice alliterative ring to it.
Those are the best days. Yep. Right. Thanks.
So you are an experienced film and TV composer, I'm gathering?
I'm lucky. I have a really good friend. He was a drummer in my band. I used to pay him $125 a week to be a drummer, and now he's a millionaire from doing the paperwork. And but he's a phenomenal musician, and has a phenomenal company. So I'm just looking to expand with, it's a little more specific at that point. It's more specified. There's a few writers. There's not a lot of material to do, so I'm looking to expand. And I talked to Cliff Goldmacher, and he recommended this.
That's
and
great.
So this sounds.
Something you brought up, which everybody should know, is people fall into the my publisher routine. It's kind of like my girlfriend. Somebody expresses that they love them. Oh, they've signed a bunch of my music. Therefore, they must be the best people on the planet. They're certainly smart because they love my music. And so they create a bunch of music and shove it all in that one catalog because they're getting a little affection from that company. Well, it's awesome that you're feeling the love, but you want to have as many pieces of music in several, if not many, different libraries because their relationships wax and they wane. Maybe a show that they've worked with and gotten a bunch of music in gets canceled, or maybe the music supervisor that worked on that show gets fired, or maybe the editor that worked on that show that loved your pieces and put it into a lot of episodes of the show moved on to another show, and all of a sudden that publisher that's got all your music signed dries up. So it's good to have your music in 3, 4, 5, maybe even as many as 10 or 12 libraries, because while one is waxing, another will wane, and so on and so forth. So good move on your part.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yep, you too.
All right. Does anyone else have a question? I'll look if you're okay. John Dawson, you can go ahead and.
Hi there, everyone. Good morning from Aberdeen, in Scotland. My question is, just as a newbie, are there any, tutorials on basic stuff like, how do we go about submitting? I had a very quick look. I couldn't see an obvious way how to attach things to it. Is there stuff that covers that?
Well, I'm going to let Bria answer that. First of all, because her maiden name was McTavish, so she speaks Scottish.
It's still English.
I know. I was making a joke, apparently not a very good one. And Bria actually did a tutorial years ago. I don't even know if it's still apropos. But so basically, you see a listing, you click the submit button. it'll ask you, which song, and you click this song for that listing and click upload, and it uploads it. But Bria, can you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a bit, probably a little bit more in depth. So you do have to have your music uploaded first before you
Okay.
are able to submit. So when I'm guessing you've set up your account with all your info, but have you uploaded any music yet?
No, that's probably where I'm going wrong. I
Okay,
haven't done
so
anything with it yet.
yeah, so you'll need to do that first so you can upload the music that you want to submit. And then when you're ready to submit, you can click on that submit music button, find the listing you want to submit to, click submit to it, and then those songs will show up there and you can check them off.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple, but if you need any help or anything, definitely don't hesitate to, send our staff an email too, because they're like Michael said earlier, they're really helpful.
And if you're living in Scotland, I know it's going to be tough because of the time difference and making a long distance phone call. But there are staff members. I mean, literally, you could say, is it possible for me to set up a private Zoom with one of your staff members to have them walk me through it? And
Okay.
there's a guy in the staff named Matt who would be thrilled to do that for you.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you watch Outlander?
You know something? I don't actually.
Really? Okay.
Really?
He's
We're big-
always telling me to watch it too.
It's one of the greatest TV shows that's ever been on. I didn't think I'd like it. I avoided it for like 5 or 6 years. And finally, one of my older daughters twisted my arm. And you'll love the characters. And there's a lot of Scottish history in there, and the cinematography and the landscapes are beautiful. So, yeah, being that you're from Scotland, you should definitely watch Outlander.
Okay.
You look like a cast member.
But yeah, the
Yes.
email to reach out directly to our staff is memberservices@taxi.com. And I'll
Okay.
put that in the chat as well for anybody else.
Yep.
All right. Eric, Bryant, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Michael. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Just a quick question on, let's say I'm looking at a brief and I know I'm going to have 3 songs that I want to upload and submit, and one's done. I'm in the middle of the next one. Do I wait and upload them all 3, or do I put them one at a time, or is there any benefit one way or the other?
No, unless it's a listing, like some of the record labels will say submit 3 songs for this because they want to hear some depth in your material. But for typical stuff, it's 1 song at a time. It doesn't matter. They don't all need to be uploaded on the same day at the same time.
Even for one particular request.
Right. Yeah. Let's say that there's a taxi listing that asks for dramedy instrumentals. You could submit one today, one tomorrow, just as long as you get them in before the deadline, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Anyone else? Oh, JC, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hey there. Can you
Hey,
hear me?
JC. Yep.
Oh, it's nice to talk to you. I appreciate you letting me chime in here.
No problem. Our pleasure.
And I love Taxi TV. I actually was watching it like months before I even joined. I've known about Taxi for probably 30 years now. I used to see the ads in the recording magazine.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know why it took me 30 years to join, but here I am.
People say that all the time. After they join, either they love us and say, why did it take me so long to join? Or they hate us and go, I want a refund because I'm not getting forwarded. But, well, thank you. I'm glad you watched Taxi TV.
It's good stuff.
It's started out on a lark and turned into becoming something very valuable for a lot of people. So thanks for watching.
Cool. My question is regarding copyrights, more specifically registering copyrights with the Copyright Office. I'm more doing like instrumental cues. At what point, and even if, would you end up needing to register with the Copyright Office?
I'm glad you asked that question. Boy, you guys are asking some of the best questions I've gotten in a while. I'm not a music attorney. This is not legal advice. And even my friend Aaron Jacobson would probably whack me upside the head for saying this. The vast majority of our members who have become professional instrumental composers, don't bother registering the copyrights on instrumental cues because, and I don't mean to make them sound insignificant, but it's not like you've written a song that potentially could be a massive global hit for a recording artist on a major label. You've recorded a little instrumental cue that's going to make a few bucks here and a few bucks there, and it's a matter of quantity and time that, it accumulates. We do have members, by the way, that are making six-figure and multi-six-figure incomes from doing instrumental cues. It takes 5 years to gain some really good traction and about 8 or 9 or 10 years to get really up to speed to where you're making a six-figure income. Totally doable. And when you quit making music, the income continues to come in for many years. They don't register the copyrights because it costs more to register the copyrights with the Copyright Office than you will probably make on each one of those things individually. So what they do is, as Mark said earlier, usually it's the publisher that, as a matter of fact, they don't even like it when oftentimes when you register the copyright and you register the song with your PRO, or the instrumental cue, I should say. They're going to have to amend it because they may retitle it anyway. Maybe your title isn't all that appealing to an editor who's perusing a list of 100 songs, or maybe they've got something in their catalog that already has that title. So it's not unusual for them to retitle it. And if they have to retitle it and change the ownership, because they will get the publisher share of the publishing, you'll keep the writer share of the publishing. So it's just easier and cleaner for everybody if you leave it, if you don't register the copyright and don't register it with your PRO. Any lawyer would shoot me for saying that. I'm only repeating what I've heard from our longest term, most successful members. However, that said, if you are writing a song and you are going to pitch that song, not to film and TV, maybe, or maybe you're going to do it for film and TV, but you'd like Ariana Grande to cut it on her record, and you think it's the best song you've ever written in your life, and simultaneously you're pitching it for artists on labels, definitely copyright that or register the copyright.
I think you sort of answered. I just one other follow-up question.
Okay.
I have some songs in the past that I have registered with the Copyright Office, and there's been looking at some of the listings. I'm like, you know what? I have 1 or 2 songs I think might, if I updated a little bit, would be kind of appropriate. But I was thinking, well, I've already copyrighted that, and I have no intent. I mean, it was my song. I wrote it. I performed it.
That's
but
okay.
I never used it.
No music library, no film and TV publisher is going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you copyrighted this in the past. I don't want it because of that." Yeah. They might shrug their shoulders and go, "Okay, so I've got to amend the copyright or something." But you're not going to lose a deal because of that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's been very helpful.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking a good question.
Thank
you. Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I see one more hand up, Bria.
Where?
The gentleman who's waving.
Joe? Is that you, Joe? Yeah, you can go ahead and unmute.
You sounded like somebody like in a scene from a movie. Is that you, Joe?
You're right. I have a question too. You were speaking about the copyrights, and in the listings, many are instrumental music cues and whatnot. But with those that are geared towards artists, it seems that I would think you would wait till the song possibly is actually forwarded before you might possibly want to copyright that, especially at $65 now per copyright, which has gone up from the $35 recently.
Wow.
But at that point, shouldn't it be copyrighted if it's actually being forwarded to a major label?
Yes. And now that you can do it online, it used to be you would fill out the form, send it in, and people would wait until they got the confirmation back in the mail, right. Which that could take 9 months.
Many of those with the cassette.
Yeah, exactly. That could take 9 months or more. So I would always tell people, just as long as you've mailed it, that's fine. Yeah, you would definitely want to register the copyright on something that gets forwarded to a major label or an ad agency. Honestly, isn't it funny how music only gets stolen from big famous people? It's because the people go after the guys with the deep pockets. And the number of copyright infringement suits that actually have any merit, pretty small in numbers. And is somebody going to try and steal a 90-second instrumental cue? Why would they? We have a member recently who's like, they stole my cue. It's like, why would they do that? Why would they risk $150,000 fine and ruin their entire career over stealing a 90-second instrumental cue when they could have just made one themselves?
Right.
So, or found another one from somebody else. Just doesn't make sense. But yes, anytime ad agencies, I have heard legitimate stories on 3 occasions in my 40-year career where something went to an ad agency and got ripped off. Something remarkably similar came out. I don't think that they really understand the rules of the music industry so much at ad agencies, although over time maybe they've gotten more astute about that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, certainly if your song is if it got forwarded, just make sure you do it the minute you find out that it's been forwarded. I wouldn't want a little time delay to be the thing. Somebody heard it on a Wednesday and then gave it to somebody else on a Friday, and they came very close to ripping off your song, and your copyright registration hadn't gone through yet. So just be prompt about it and you should be fine.
I've been more apt to post things because I've been watching your YouTube videos, which I really enjoy. Thanks for those. But I thought it might be good to have at least some form of public publishing, but not posting it, I know, on Spotify, Pandora, or any of those companies that
You mean have it out there?
Typically say stay away from if you're submitting music to artists.
Yeah. Artists don't want stuff that's been out in the wild already. They tend to want stuff that's kind of virginal and unheard and nobody else
Right.
did. Because once it's
Mine's
been,
very virginal.
yeah, once it's been released publicly, somebody could hypothetically do a cover of it because of the way copyright law works. It gives you the ability to do a cover of something that's been publicly released. By the way, you're bordering another topic, which I'd like to address very quickly, which is if you've got music distributed by CD Baby or TuneCore, or any of the companies like that, oftentimes they have a little checkbox that says, would you like us to distribute your music? Yes. Would you like us to make your music available for sync? Oh, yeah, sure. I'd love to make a little extra money. And you check yes, or you sign up for CD Baby Pro. Guess what? You just signed a legitimate full-on publishing deal with them, or at the very least, a publishing administration deal. So now you take that same piece of music and submit it to Taxi for a publisher that's looking for stuff, and they love it. They call you up and say, we want to sign this. And you go, oh crap, I did the CD Baby Pro thing. So you're asking a publisher to sign a song that's already been published.
Yeah.
So my advice is think twice before you ask anybody, and they're both fine companies. I'm not bashing them in any way, shape, or form. It's just you're committing to a publishing agreement of one sort or another, and it prevents you from signing anything else. So,
well, I just joined myself, and I have to tell you, I'm really having fun by looking at those listings because I haven't done that before. Oh, I got this, this. And so I've written 2 songs the last 2 weekends, which has really been fun, geared towards these specific things. Like you say, it's so different than trying to find one.
Right.
The music style is going to be a little different, but I'm really enjoying the process.
And sitting around waiting for the muse to show up, the muse is much more likely to come and sit on your lap if you have a deadline in front of you and a specific request. So why wait for the muse to show up when she feels like it?
Yeah. So thank you. I'm having a blast.
Great. Glad to hear that. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've covered it all. You guys were a great crowd, great questions tonight. Thank you for being members. And I'm not saying this like going to a Tony Robbins seminar or something, but you should give yourselves a pat on the back. Because look, you didn't have to spend an hour and 45 minutes with us tonight. You could have been doing a million other things, but I mean it from the depth of my heart that you literally upped your chances of becoming a successful member by joining us tonight. Other people who didn't join us tonight may not learn what you've learned in this hour and 45 minutes ever, or may not learn it for 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. So good for you. Again, reach out to us anytime with questions. And thanks for joining us. See you on Taxi TV, and hopefully see you in Los Angeles for the Road Rally November 3rd through the 6th, 2022. COVID-free, live in LA. Good night, you guys. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye.